the majority of the time that Playables existed has been a bear market. You've actually released games, you've got more planned, you just hired more people. This is not typical results. So I think that speaks some volume.
That's the trap of crypto. The bright, shiny thing is often not the thing that's going to end up being the one that makes it in the end.
But why specifically gaming?
What you were talking about before, like Axie Infinity and those sort of games, they were what we call clickers, almost like a one-armed bandit at the casino. You know, you just, whoo, am I going to get 4 heart?
I mean, I just know them as slot machines, but I
yeah,
think that's a better name.
Yeah, you pull that thing and it just steals your money.
One-armed bandit.
So the trick is, how do you get away from being a Ponzi scheme to where there is an actual economy working in the game? The stepping stones to success is failure. I've watched some of your stuff and you've got a duplicatable system, and that is have a bill payer, earn a fucking living, pay your bills, and on the side, in the extra hours we have each day, instead of going out and getting drunk every night, how about you take a few of those hours each week and build something on the side?
So what are the big moves you're making right now to not only release these games you have planned, but also just to capitalize on where we're at in the market? Welcome to the Andy and Friends podcast. I'm your friend Andy, and in this episode of the podcast, I took to Jonathan, one of the co-founders of Playabull Games. In this conversation, we talk all about what Playabull is, what they have coming on the horizon, what games they're launching. But we also talk about the crypto gaming space in general. Where is all the opportunity? Why should people be paying attention to the space? Why is this going to be a huge narrative in this upcoming mega bull run? So there's lots of really interesting things here and things that are worth paying attention to, especially if crypto gaming has ever piqued your interest at all. So let's jump into this episode. And here we are on this episode with Jonathan from Playabull Games. How you doing?
I'm bullish. With 3.
Are you?
Yeah. As some people say, play a thrill.
One of the things I like about Playabull's ticker is that if I go to CoinGecko and I just type in a 3, it's the first one that pops up, which is super helpful.
There's actually a few 3s. I was surprised that it's not as original as I thought it was going to be, but yeah.
You're winning the 3 game from my perspective, so that's a good thing. So I'd love to start off here. For those, I mean, if you've watched my channel, you've probably encountered Playabull at some point. But for those who just aren't 100% familiar with them, could you do a brief overview of what Playabull is?
Okay, well, in the shortest possible way, we raise money through crypto, and we take that money and we buy either games or dev teams with that money and pay them to build games. And then we take those games and add crypto to them. So you can actually play and earn is the phrase we're using. So we were play to earn, and then we've changed that because people think that's like a job. And we didn't want that because that comes with a lot of stress. People get very stressed. So it's play and earn. You can add earnings to your play.
I like that. So I'm assuming, and maybe you can elaborate here, I'm assuming the last crypto cycle informed that decision a little bit, because I feel like I wasn't really playing a lot of those games, but it felt like a lot of them were kind of, you had to grind and all this stuff, and it's kind of like this job that you had to do, which in a third world country maybe was a pretty good income, but for everybody else it was just kind of like this thing that you weren't necessarily enjoying doing, but you had to do it this way just so you could make that money like a job. Is that
very much
that decision?
So, yeah. I mean, like, this is an evolving space, so it's like what we know today they didn't know 4 years ago, and 8 years ago it wasn't even thought of. So it's we're following in Gala's trail that they started blazing, and that is to first of all service the third world. It is easier to get a third world person earning $2 a day. That's fairly easy because a Westerner needs to buy a sword or something and they'll pay $10 for it. If it takes that third world person 5 days to farm that sword, they can make an income out of that. And the Westerner just comes home from work and uses his work money to buy the sword rather than grind it. So that's the very first step of play and earn, is that you can you can build the game so there's a grinding element. All our games are free. You don't have to pay for anything. You can actually play the whole game totally free. But if you want to speed that up, like I come home from work And one of the things I remember from World of Warcraft when I used to play was the guy that used to beat me every day was the guy that was involved in a car accident, and he smoked dope all day because he had a great big payout, and he just played 18 hours a day of WoW. And so he had the best gear, the best mounts, the best places. He was a member of the best guild, and so he would just wipe me off the map. And I always thought it would be really nice if I could come home and use a little bit of my money to shortcut a few of those. Rather than killing 20 lions, couldn't I just kill 15? Isn't that sort of like enough? You get what I mean? Like just a little bit of a percentage increase. So that's where we're heading. So that first level of the third world countries being able to make a living out of it, that's quite easy. Our long-term goal is for things like Dogs of War that we're working on to actually give Westerners a chance to make a living out of gaming. So, and be a part-time gig, a side hustle. And we've got some the plans for that. We're really trying to be the first ones to really nail it, where a Western can earn $2 or $3 grand a month as passive income from gaming. So
yeah,
we think we've got it, but we haven't built it yet. So the alpha should be at the end of this year. So we'll have our first bite at it. But yeah.
Cool. Well, I like that. Yeah. I mean, so that's the challenge, right? Building games that are fun to play and that has that missing element, which all the really fun to play, super popular games out there today are lacking, at least inbuilt. I mean, you can obviously become a pro gamer and go on the circuit and do, tournaments and stuff and earn money that way.
Yeah,
but built into the game,
that's like being a football star. Yeah, I mean, how many people become a football star? Not many. So
very few,
same as esports. Yeah, I mean, you're most probably not going to make a living out of gaming in the traditional gaming sphere.
Yeah. So building a game that is fun to play and that has an element that has an inbuilt way to make money is like that perfect storm. So, just looking at, the past cycle and past attempts, and this is, I don't want to talk bad about any projects or games or companies because they've paved the way to where we are going, where we are today. But what's been the missing element? What have they gotten wrong, or why hasn't that happened yet?
Well, it's experimentation, isn't it? Like, what Gala did with Townstar. So they took the previous game that the owner had built, which was like a farming game, and they kryptonized it. And for a brief 8 months or whatever it was the shining star. And you could play a game and earn NFTs and buy NFTs, and those NFTs made you money. But it ended up being a Ponzi scheme. So that's the trick. So the trick is, how do you get away from being a Ponzi scheme to where there is an actual economy working in the game? No one's done it yet. And, I'm saying I think we've got it right. Until I build it and we've got it, fully working and functioning, we're not going to know. But basically, we're trying to build a game. So this is Dogs of War I'm talking about. This is our survival game. So it's got three main games in the one game: a survival element, a PvP element, and then a base building element. And base building actually has two sides: base building and base defending, because people try to raid your bases. So you can sort of choose what part of the game you want to be in. So when I played DayZ, which is what that's based on, my role, since I'm shit at PvP, I was a base builder. And I was one of the best base builders on the server, and you got to learn all the tricks. How do you protect against this, and how do you make this part of the base strong? And, in Dogs of War, we're going to have traps. You can actually craft traps. So like if you break in through the front door, or hot oil falls on you and you get burned, and we're going to build all that sort of. So there'll be some fun elements built in that you can really try and use your noggin. But on an economy scale, we're going to try and build a proper economy. So if you want a PvP, you're going to need to buy bullets. So if you're going to buy bullets, someone has to make those bullets. And if you're going to make bullets, someone has to get the resources to make those bullets. So you end up with multiple levels that you can work in if you want. I'm going to go and collect the materials to make gunpowder. I'm going to go and collect the materials to craft steel bullet housings. I'm going to buy a blacksmith license so I can get the license to craft those steel bullet housings. I'm then going to get the license to actually sell those bullets to other players. So we're going to try, that's just using bullets as one multi-tiered example, but the idea is that there's multiple people doing multiple jobs to get a bullet. And then we're expecting that there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to do all those jobs to make bullets. So they'll buy them. So they'll say, I'm going to commit $20 a week to buying bits and pieces in this game to save me time so I can spend more time PvPing. So, and once you get that right, you get that balance right, you got some people that are happy to spend time doing things and other people that just want to play the game and really enjoy the game and they're prepared to pay for it. And the people that are prepared to pay for it, just like any economy, they bring the money to the people that are prepared to do the work. So you get an economy. So we'll see whether we get it right. Because, I mean, no one's done it yet. Like, what you were talking about before, like Axie Infinity and those sort of games, they were what we call clickers. You just click and then it's almost like a one-arm bandit at the casino. You just, whoo, am I going to get 4 hearts? That's what they were playing. So, that was a good beginning. That was the simplest form of game, isn't it? Like a basic gambling game. And you slowly build things up or but we're really trying to actually create an economy. And if we can do that, even a basic one, it'll actually work. But it's got to, our prices, we're building in algorithms so our prices fluctuate. So if too many people start making bullets become really cheap. So then people say, okay, well, I might go and hunt bears because bear skins are selling for, 5,000 gold now. You need bear skins for clothing or you need, to protect yourself. So we'll see. We'll see how it's going to work. But it's sorry
to put off-topic thing here. What did you call the gambling machine? What do you call that?
In Australia, we call it the one-armed bandit.
I mean, I just know them as slot machines, but I think that's a better name.
Yeah, you pull that thing and it just steals your money.
One-armed bandit. I like that.
I was really lucky because my uncle was a millionaire back in 1970s, and he had one in his holiday home. He'd bought an old one out of a casino and took it to his holiday home. And he had a whole pile of 20s. And he actually said to me one day, I want you just to keep putting them in and pull it until they run out. I said, but they won't run out. I'm going to win, aren't I? And he goes, oh, you'll win. And I played for about 3 or 4 hours, I think. When I say played, it hurt my arm. But it ran out. And then he said, I set it to do that. And I said, what? He goes, it's just mechanical, Jonathan. It's just set. The casino decides what they're going to let you win. And I was like, this is like I've never used them since. I was only young when it happened, but I've never been a gambler because he basically made it very clear to me that horse racing and all that sort of stuff, it's all built that the house wins and the only reward you get really is the fun of it. So if you enjoy
if
you enjoy it, go do it.
Great life lesson.
Yeah, I was lucky with that one because I wouldn't want to be a gambler. That's a hard life.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of crypto that is that. A lot of people who kind of are that. But hopefully, those of us who stick around multiple cycles, learn how to avoid a lot of it, or learn how to get away from just doing that, or all that good stuff. I want to talk about that aspect with you. One, can you talk a little bit about what you do at Play It Bull, what your background is professionally, and then how you got into crypto in the first place?
Okay. Professionally, if you go back far enough, I'm a door-to-door salesperson. That's my job out of school. I went into retail sales, working in a shop, and hated that. And then I had my best friend's dad was a sales manager for an insurance company. And he said, if you really want to learn to sell, you need to go to direct sales. And I said, what's that? And he said, oh, you can earn very big money in direct sales. And I said, oh, that sounds good. And he goes, and you're going to cry a lot. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, and he used to use the phrase, it was a sell or you don't eat job. It was full commission, door to door, knock on doors, hi. And I got into vacuum cleaners. I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners. You've got them in America. They're an American brand. And they've been in Australia now for 40 years or whatever. But I knocked on doors and learned to sell the hard way. And the first 6 months starved and didn't look as fat as I am now. And slowly but surely, I developed skills to be able to communicate and share a story and take people on a journey from, you can come in, but I'm not going to buy anything, to walking out with a signed deal and they're like very happy to be spending a couple of $1,000s on a vacuum cleaner. But that took time, and my goal at that point was to become a sales trainer. So I was fascinated by sales. I was fascinated by that particular interaction where people would start very hostile, and I know what you're doing. You're going to try and sell me those big expensive vacuum cleaners, and I don't want one. And I was fascinated in the journey you could take someone on, that you just accepted that and said, yeah, well, of course, okay. And we used to have a line we used to use. I promise you something, Andy. If you let me come in, I won't sell you something you don't want, you don't need, or you can't afford. Is that fair enough? And they'd go, oh, okay. And then you just start at the beginning and you start building value, and you show them where the value is and why it's useful. And this is the problem you've got, and this is how this solves the problem. And, it taught me how to structure a basic business, really, because you got to identify what the problem is and then how to solve that problem. And that's what a sales process is. So that's my core. If you said, do you have an expertise? At one point, I was an expert salesperson, like top level. And the finish of that career was sales training. And then I went into, in the middle of that, I did like a share market type thing where I actually learned all about trading shares. And we had the first black box technology. So the computer program, this is in 1999, so it was like early time. And the computer program identified which stocks were running on the day. So it would just spring up that, oh, look at that, Bitcoin's. There was no Bitcoin, obviously. But like, the Australian, they were all on the Australian stock market. But, BHP is up 4% today. So why is it up? So then we teach people to look at why. Why is it up? What's happening? And so they were $12,000 each, those programs to buy. And I ran a team of 16 people and we sold a lot of them. So that was like to culminate the end of my career. And then switched into running businesses, small businesses, trying to build a big business. Didn't succeed in ever getting it to a big business. We had multiple small businesses that were good and profitable, but we couldn't get them to that next level where we weren't working in them and running them. We kept getting stuck having to run them. And when I say we, it's my wife and I. We had several. We ended up in real estate, did very well in real estate. And then I sort of hit my early 50s and I just decided every time I went to try and go for a good job, the world had shifted and experience didn't matter anymore. They just wanted, if you didn't have a degree, they just didn't talk to you. So I went back to school. Both Amanda and I went back to school. We did a bachelor degree in marketing, and then we went on to a master's degree in marketing. That thing kept going through my head about what's the next Uber, what's the next. And I had that real jump in thinking that I've watched computers come into the world, because I'm 58 now, but I've watched computers be born they were born in the 50s, so I'm born in 65, but basically they came into the world in like the 80s, the early 80s, as like big machines, IBM System 38s and those sort of great big, a computer in a room that a company would get to manage their bookings. And I watched them, but I watched Microsoft actually launch live with a PC and Apple launch with a Mac. So I watched computers get born, or personal computers. And then I watched the internet come into being. And then I watched social media come into being. And I realized that this is probably the first time in history that we've been able to actually chart cycles. Because when like the light bulb came into being, like the electricity, that was like a 30-year cycle. It took a really long time to get basic adoption. And then it took another 50 years to be in, like before refrigerators and other things started getting into homes. So it was really too long to chart for a normal person. But this was quite short, 20, 30 years. So computers was 30 years, then the internet was like 15 years, and then social media was 10 years. And then here's crypto. And I've got these 3 other cycles to look at. And my brain just went, I've got to learn all about crypto. So once I got into Bitcoin and I watched Andrei Antonopoulos talking about it, it just made sense. And we missed the 17 cycle. We were too late. It sort of like closed out in 18. And I thought it was all over. Like you talk about people just going, well, I was wrong about that. I thought that was going to be big. And then it was gone. And I didn't really think about like life's in the way and you're paying your bills, and I'm raising 3 kids with Amanda, and we're, we've got 3 teenagers and tough yards. And then 21 came around and Jet bought Dogecoin. And he only bought $300 worth or $100 worth. It wasn't much, but I was furious because that was a shit coin. Like that does nothing. There's so many good coins out there. And we ended up in this big discussion. It wasn't a fight. It was just a discussion. But he was saying, I just want to do it for fun. And I'm like, it's not about fun. You're investing in something that could be real. And all the learning came back. And then Jet was really interested. So we started talking. And then that sort of went backwards and forwards. He sold it. And then it went up like 3 or 4 times. So I was the idiot. And that was really funny. And then he bought a $1,500 NFT, a deadhead that was really popular. They just took off overnight. And again, that light bulb just went off, and I thought, if he's quite conservative with money, like not as conservative as his brother Sam, but if Sam's a 10 out of 10 in conservative, Jet's like an 8. Like they're pretty conservative. And Jet spent $1,500 on this NFT. And I was like, okay, there's something there. That's really interesting. And so both of us did a lot of study over the next couple of weeks on NFTs, and we ended up trading them. And we were up at 3 a.m. in Australia to meet the American launch time of these NFTs, and we were bidding on them, and we were buying several $1,000s worth at a time and holding them for 3 or 4 days and selling them for $10,000. So like we were making $2,000 and $3,000 at a time. And in 1 week, I think Jet made 50,000 or something in the week. So it was like a crazy return on, and it was gambling at its best, but it was fun and it was addictive. And I could see that, and there's obviously the underlying technology of NFTs that I could see very quickly that we're going to end up tokenizing real estate into NFTs and banking, finance instruments and stuff. So yeah. So that's a very long answer, but that's how we got to starting Playable.
I love it. One of the reasons I like your story, and I think it parallels with a lot of other people I've had on the podcast. People think, you're going to start a business, you're going to start a venture, you're going to be an entrepreneur or something, and you're going to have an idea, and it's just it's going to work and it's be successful, and that's how you do it. No. The reality is most of us who go on this journey, the journey here is littered with trial and error and failures and just things that had promise but just didn't quite work out, or great experiences but it wasn't right for us, or whatever. Take your pick. It's a grab bag of things before you finally land on the thing that is your big thing before the next big thing or whatever. Hopefully it's leads you on to success after success. But that's one of the things I like about hearing your story is talk about starting from the very, very beginning, like the on the totem pole of like what you do in the job. So like door-to-door salesman, when it comes to getting into like the world of entrepreneurship, that's like that's like where you start for a lot of people. And then being able to build that into really successful like experience and businesses and stuff is just really cool to hear how, I don't know, I feel like hearing that type of stuff is inspiring for a lot of people, because it says, if this guy can do this, or, if you can actually start at one of these positions that, they give to everybody because it's so tough, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, is there a tougher job than going to someone's house, knocking on their door and convincing them to buy something? I mean, I feel like if you can make it there and get to where you're at, that says something, right?
Well, the world's changed since then. Those jobs really aren't around anymore like they were. In Australia, they've been all outlawed. Like the governments, again, got involved and said, we don't want people selling like that in people's homes. It's too much pressure, or like, and there definitely was some salespeople, what I would call untrained salespeople, who would think pressure was the way to do that. And you could be mean to people and put pressure on people. But what I was trying to learn and master was the opposite of that, which is how do you tell a story that's compelling? And that obviously helps in building a business, because that's what you're doing when you're running a business. You've got to tell a story that's compelling. Why are you going to use my shop today rather than the shop two streets down? But I would say that success, the stepping stones to success is failure. So I don't think you can get to success, and if you do, you're just lucky. You just, like, if you came out of college and you finished a college degree and you've never had a job before, and your first job was starting a business for yourself because your dad gave you the money to do it, and it became a big hit, well, golf clap to you. Well done. You obviously got a good brain and you found a niche, and you had the funds to get through the growing pains of that business. But that's not duplicatable. That's not a duplicatable system. I've watched some of your stuff, obviously, and you've got a duplicatable system, and that is have a bill payer, earn a fucking living, pay your bills, and on the side, in the extra hours we have each day, instead of going out and getting drunk every night with your mates, how about you take a few of those hours each week and build something on the side? And as that grows and you start getting more income from that, when that equals more than your base income, then you can quit your job and you can start doing that full time. That is a system that's actually able to be duplicated and followed. And that's hard. That's not easy. But at least it will work if you actually take the time. And the other thing is time. Everything needs time, and we live in a world of I want it yesterday. So building businesses is not I spend half my day in Playable answering questions: when this, when that, when will, why haven't you, when are you doing that? Other companies are all going up and you're going down, and they're not even factual. I actually did I don't know if you saw that. I call them fireside chats last week, and I got the 10 competitors we've got and showed all their charts, and every one of their charts looks exactly the same as ours. All the gaming companies have just been going down 30-40% over the last month or so, because Bitcoin's sucking all the air out of the place, and that's to be expected. But when I hear everyone's going up and you're going down, it's like, well, if that was true, that would be really fearful and annoying, but it's not true. So,
yeah. So, so lots of really good points there. Yeah, I think it all comes down to how bad do you want this? How bad do you want success? And are you willing to sacrifice for it? Because, like you said, lots of people just choose the easy path. They go out to drink, or they spend their time, doing whatever instead of something that they, is productive, that could build something big or lucrative for them on the side, or at least pave the way to that. And I think a lot of people just fall into that trap of, I don't have time, which whenever I hear that, I just think bullshit. Everybody has the same amount of time.
Yep.
Just how you manage it. Like, we just make choices. We just decide what's our priority. And
Yep.
if your priority is every single day you come home, you watch Netflix, you eat dinner, you go out, whatever, then that's just more important to you than doing this other thing. It's just, but we have the same amount of time. It's just how you utilize it. So I love this discussion, but I want to get back to the main topic here for a second. I'm really curious. So I love the story of how you your experience, how that rolled into Playable, how you first got your initial stages of excitement and interest into crypto. And I can definitely share and I mirror some of those, because I was like, this is the next thing, obviously. But why specifically gaming? What did you see in the gaming sphere that said, I want my crypto project, I want to start a crypto company around gaming? What was that impetus? What started that?
I was marketing for a gaming company, and so that was my skill set. I went from salesperson to a marketer and got my master's degree in marketing. And so I was marketing for a development company that was building a game in Australia. And I was sitting around talking with the owner one day, and I said, we were just chatting, really. It was almost like a Friday night beer session. We were just having some beers and we were actually on Skype talking because we were playing Daisy. He was in his house playing Daisy, and we were drinking some beers and just playing along. And I said, "What's your biggest problem with the company?" And he said, "Man, I'm just fucking underfunded. I've got no money. I'm a talented game dev, and I can't hire the right people. I can't get the best programs. I don't have the best computers. I'm underfunded." And I said, "Well, what would you need to build a team that was going to build this game in a reasonable time, rather than 5 or 6 years, 8 years on your own? Which means all the technology, the programming you did 8 years ago is now out of date by the time you get to, so you got to move quicker than that." And he threw out $1 million. He said, "I'd probably need around $1 million. By the time I hired 8 people at 50 to 150 grand, there's a mixture in there, and then I've got the computers and I said, well, if I could raise that for you, would that solve that problem?" And he just laughed and said, "Of course." And I'd been doing some research on this sort of stuff, and of course I knew about Gala, so I approached Gala and said, "I've got a gaming company here in Australia. They've started this game. It's a ultra realistic shooter, and it's based on SAS soldiers out of Australia, and they're trying to build a game that's super, like all the gunshots are proper guns, and it feels real." And Gala said, "How much do you need?" And I said, "We need $1 million Australian." And they said, "Done." And I was like, "What?" And it wasn't like one conversation like that. It was about 3 conversations, but it was very quick. It wasn't like a normal business negotiation. It was, they were funded, they needed games, and we had a game being built. So we built that game for them, and it didn't ever get released. But there's a couple of reasons for that. But it was I sort of moved on halfway through all that. But he finished, got the game to an open beta, and then they took a vote and said they didn't want it. So it was strange. But there's a fully built game there. But it's that then led me. I had another friend who had a gaming company, and who I'd met, and I sat down with Jet and Sam and said, "Gala's raised all this money." We had a Gala node by that stage. We'd bought a Gala node. The boys wanted to invest in crypto properly, so it was 10,000 Australian dollars. So they put 5,000 Australian dollars each in and bought a $10,000 Gala node, which was about 6,700, I think, US at the time. And so we knew all about Gala, and we looked at their tokenomics and stuff, and we decided, why couldn't we do a smaller version of Gala? And that's the first thought that led to, well, what would that entail? And then Amanda and I sat down and went through what's the business side of that, and then the boys went through how would we be involved, and then the boys stumped up the money. Sam and Jet went to their bank accounts and pulled out 25 grand each. So Jet had made that out of crypto, and he was running people through dungeons in World of Warcraft. He earned 50,000 in a year, taking people through World of Warcraft, and they paid him to get them better gear. So he actually made a living out of it at whatever he was, 17 years old. So they lent us the money because we didn't have the money. We were busy just being parents, raising 3 kids and paying rent, and we couldn't. Amanda was the only one working full time, and I was working sort of like 3/4 time on building this and trying to work out how to do it and trading NFTs with Jet, and that's what we were doing. And we started, and that first, we were just talking about this the other day. Have you seen in American Idol, where they have the golden buzzer?
Mm-hmm.
And they push the golden buzzer, and all the stuff comes down, and then that girl is on fire. So the music comes in, and they've encapsulated that moment of success. That is, that you are so good, we're putting you through. You're not even going to go to the trials. You're going straight to the live show. And we're in the kitchen, and Amanda is just in tears sobbing because we've just had like $6 million come through the door in a couple of weeks. And she's in tears crying. She goes, I don't know what's happening. What is, like, we've had a whole life of experience of everything so hard. And here we are with just like all our dreams met at once. The company's funded. We're able to hire good people. And we know we've got a plan. We've actually planned it all out. We know what we're going to do. But it was always up to that point. It was like, will it work? Will it not work? And bang, there it is. And she said, why are you so calm? I said, baby, I live here. I live in the future. I've seen all this while I've been planning it and building it up. And, so it was, but that was we call it our golden buzzer moment. It was a very distinct part of my journey there that was, I always watched that and thought I'd love to have that happen. I wish that would happen in my life, and we had it. It was great. And so then we had bear market, and that joy turned into, holy shit, we better manage this properly, because, and obviously being older and having run multiple businesses before, we were very aware that you can run out of money, and most businesses do. And I didn't know how long bear markets were. We hadn't done any of that sort of research. I knew all about the bull market because they last somewhere between, and I thought they lasted between 6 months and 12 months, but they obviously last 3 years. I know all about it now. I've spent, since this is my full-time job now and I do it all the time, I know exactly how it works. But I thought it was 6 to 12 months we were trying to wait for. But and I thought the bear market might be 2 years. I didn't realize it would only be 1 year. But that first year of the bull market's that choppy sideways up, which feels like a bear market, but it's not. But anyway, so yeah, and we did it. And we got through the bear market, got our first game out, and we're now sitting real pretty.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you just ended on there. I've been in this space for 7 years. I first got into crypto in 2014, technically, but it was very spotty. I didn't really fully dive in until late 2016 or early 2017. That's when I really dove in.
Yeah, so you're one whole cycle ahead of me.
But in that time, I've seen a litany of projects and companies come and go.
Yep.
Ones with incredible teams, lots of funding, and they ran out of money. They just did the wrong things or whatever, and they just couldn't survive through a bear market. Bear markets are brutal in crypto. We watched Bitcoin drop 75 to 80% in value, and then alts get decimated, 99%. Some just never recover. So I think it's very telling that we're talking right now because you started this at the tail end of the last bull market.
1 month. We had 1 month of bull run. Yeah.
Yeah. And the majority of the time that Playables existed has been a bear market. And you're still here. You've actually released games. You've got more planned. You just hired more people. Like, these are all, this is not typical results. So I think that speaks some volume. But I'd like to actually dive into that a little bit because we're talking about Gala. We were talking before we started recording about some of the pivots they're making, and that's opened up some opportunities to you. So I'm just kind of curious, what are the big moves you're making right now that you're trying to do to not only release these games you have planned, but also just to capitalize on where we're at in the market?
Yeah, I don't know what Gala's thinking is. I'm not on their board or in their meetings, so I can only report what I see in the world. They've seemed to have pivoted away from gaming, and they've sacked several teams in the last month, and they've moved the big games like Miranda's to Chile to an unproven team, that's their biggest game they're building. And it's like, I need to say at this juncture that Gala's not my expertise. I don't spend much time looking at Gala. So I've got a whole business to run of my own. And if you ask Jason Brink about, Playable, he probably wouldn't be able to tell you a sentence of what we do because he's got his whole head in Gala and running Gala. So they've made their decisions for whatever reason, but obviously and they're moving towards music and film, which is going to make them the first music and film company, and they're fully funded. They raised a couple of $2 billion last time round. So they're going into this bull run fully funded with an experienced team. they've weathered a bear run. They're looking real sweet for like whatever they do. That I think they'll do quite well, despite some of the junk that's come along that ride with them. But for us, it obviously opens up that we always saw ourselves as the Pepsi to Gala's Coke. So we always saw ourselves as the number two. We were trying to copy what they did, follow in their coattails, let them blaze the trail, and us have the ease of following along what they were doing. But now, obviously, since they've broken off and gone a different way to where the gaming industry is going, we've always made a commitment we're going to stick with games and not try and do too many other things, and stay focused on gaming. So there's several other, like, it's obviously a lot more gaming companies come now. They're all, obviously it's the hot thing, and anyone who thinks I might get into crypto, what are the narratives? Oh, it's AI and gaming. Okay, well, I'll start something in it. So there's a big difference between what Playable is today and what a new project who's saying they're going to build a game is. And we won't go into that, but that's the trap of crypto. The bright, shiny thing, is often not the thing that's going to end up being the one that makes it in the end. So we've tried very hard to position, we've resisted marketing in the bear market. So when I say marketing, we've resisted advertising in the bear market to save funds, because it's just, you're just telling a whole lot of people that aren't really going to do anything who you are. And we've built out the marketing part, which is all the free stuff that sits in the background and keeps talking about you. So we've got 400 videos on us now that are out there. We've got all of our back end all done. We've got our own blockchain now. So Bull is actually its own blockchain. And we're positioned ready to dump the advertising on the bonfire when that lights up. So end of this year, middle of next year, whenever that 6-month altcoin frenzy starts, we're going to be pouring petrol on top of the fire. And Playable should, I think, do what Gala did last cycle, which is become the most seen top level. And without Gala there above us, who knows? We might end up being the number one coin there. So we'll see. But even if we only get a small slice of the market, that's fine. It's the old business plan. Hey, if we just captured 1% of the 200, so
every pitch deck ever made.
Yeah, yep. If you just got 1%.
I think you're, Gala. I think they're going to do very well the next cycle, I'm sure, and their market cap's going to expand and grow even bigger. But if you just look at their market cap today, and if Playable were to get as big as their market cap today, that's like a 75x from where you're at today. So it's just like the upside potential here is incredible, which is obviously why, aside from the cool things you're doing, and I like you and I like talking with y'all, that's why I'm in this, but also that upside is fairly irresistible, which is why I run, have all these nodes and various things, and I've been in Playable since y'all launched through the bear market and everything. But yeah, I think we just don't know what that world is going to look like, because we don't know how much capital is going to come into crypto. Last cycle, we top just crossed over the $3 trillion mark in terms of overall market cap for all of crypto. Are we going to go past that this time? It's going to be 5 trillion. It's going to be 10 trillion. We just don't know.
Raoul Pal said the other day 15 trillion. He said 5x on last cycle. So someone was saying the other day,
that number.
Yeah, I think that's quite realistic. We're at the end of last cycle, there weren't many people in the Western world who didn't know what crypto was. So they weren't in it, but they had an understanding. This cycle, I think we're going to see a lot of those people join. So, and people say, but there's so many more gaming companies now. You're not just you and Gala and Myria. There's like 40 of them. Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of brand new ones, and there's a couple of us old ones. And there's going to be 5 times the size of a mega market, and gaming is going to be one of the main narratives. It seems like a no-brainer to me. So,
and also, I think there's this idea in crypto that old equals bad. Coins that were here in the last cycles, you don't want to have those in this next cycle. And there is truth to that for certain things, but I think gaming is you need to understand, like, in the real world, not the crypto Wild West crazy fantasy world we all live in. When you make a game like that people actually want to play and stuff, it takes years and years to like make this thing and make it work and get it out there and get people using it. So in the world of crypto, if you're going to build a game that's blockchain enabled, crypto enabled, a crypto game gaming experience, you probably want some projects in your portfolio that have been around for a while to actually develop the things that you hope they will, launch, which I think is a trap that a lot of people fall into because the newest and shiniest thing that releases. And, you can probably make a lot of money. I've bought some, newest and shiniest things.
Of course, as do we.
But
yeah.
But you have to also just have some reality in there, and that they might not release the thing you hope they're going to release in this cycle. And so just be aware of that and like try to balance how you approach all this. And then, if we actually expect that there's to be some games that come out of this cycle that are truly like people outside the world of crypto are playing.
Yeah.
People outside the world of crypto are paying attention to. Well, you're going to need some projects with some pedigree or some experience that have been working on those things for a while now to get released.
I think, yeah.
And what are your thoughts are there?
Yeah, no, you're right on the nail. You're hitting the nail on the head. So, like, the way I look at crypto is there's different coins. There's coins that do something, and there's coins that are just a representation of an idea. And then there's meme coins, which is the very bottom end of the market. And meme coins, I didn't understand for a long time until I did a bit of study and tried to try and understand what I literally at a point where I said, okay, I've got to work out what's going on here. Why can these things get traction? What is going on? And there's definitely an element of fun there. There's this element of what Jet did. I just want to buy this dad because it's fun and I love the dog and it's funny. It's just funny. I'm going to invest $100 because it's funny. So that's one end of crypto. But then there's something like Cardano at the other end, who has hired 20 professors in universities around the world, paid all their wages for 5 years, and their whole life is building the most advanced technology in crypto to run the world's banking systems and money transfers and hospital records, and so they're actually building out something of substance. So that's the other end of crypto. So you got meme coins at one end, and then you got something like Cardano or Ethereum at the other end that are building out technologies. And there's obviously different levels. So like if Ethereum's the top, like, smart contract, but then Solana says, well, we've got faster throughput and more diversity and wider bandwidth and whatever else. So you're trying to look at. So I always ask, what do they do? So if the coin does nothing, if there is no game, if there is no community, if there is no team, then what are you actually getting behind? What we've done with Playable is we've treated this like a real business. Who are the people at the top? Who makes the day-to-day decisions? Are they qualified to do so? Because I know from life experience that a pair of 19-year-old males who are just starting a new crypto project and haven't even finished college yet are probably not going to build the next big thing in the world. So that's my life experience that says that. Now, it doesn't say that someone can't, but when it comes to investment, I'd be pretty wary about lining up 10 of those. Oh, what's your criteria? I want 2 really young guys with lots of enthusiasm. There's my criteria. Okay, that's not what I look for. And I've got my 6 things that and I've talked about that before. But we're trying to do the opposite. Who are the team? We've got 40 people now on the team around the world. It's like full-time staff getting paid every week, and we're building out serious, proper games. And our long-term goal is for me to be able to retire in between 5-10 years, whatever, and hand the company to my sons, who will then be in their 30s, and they will take over the company as a gaming company and run it as a gaming company and be something competitive to Epic or Steam or in that sort of, we're a producer. We have 30 odd games running, and plus the games that come to our blockchain. So it'll be 30 we build, and then the hundreds that will come to actually use our blockchain.
I like it. And we talked about the games and like the importance of building them and like having something of substance there. You've talked about Dogs of War. What about the other games? Tell me a little bit here at the very end of the podcast. I'd love to explore those, and also the fact that when this goes live, one of those should be in beta, I believe.
So Nexus is already in open beta now. So that's live now. And you can go to the Epic Game Store, download it for free, and play it. We are totally surprised by the amount of cheating that people go to. It's actually been eye-opening that people are so creative at cheating and being dishonest to win. So we've wasted a lot of resources. When I say wasted, we've had to do it, but it feels from our end, these people are literally trying to steal. So they're trying to break the system every day. And so it's caused us to have to put resources into defense of that. And it's been very hard. We've actually spent a lot of time and money combating that. Ordinum comes out when you and I are recording this. By the time this goes live, I think Ordinum will be live. It comes out on the 15th of this month, so May. And Ordinum will be an open beta, so you'll be able to go to the Epic Game Store and download that. So there'll be 2 live games. Starving Martian. We've had a problem with Starving Martian, and that is that when it was originally written, it wasn't written for mobile. And the new internal team we've hired have said this game's perfect for mobile. So we're actually currently rewriting that. All the code's being rewritten to put onto mobile and PC. So that's going to be our first mobile game. It won't have crypto in it at the moment because for the mobile part, we'll just have a purchase thing. But because Apple and Android are a bit weird about it. So it's going to have a mobile part and it'll have a crypto part on computer. So, and that'll be out by the end of the year. But that'll be our first mobile game. And then we've got War of Steel. We've just hired a brand new team externally for that. One of the top teams in Sydney, Australia. And we've just signed contracts literally the last couple of days. And they are a very experienced, big team out of Sydney. And they're going to build this battle royale, which is 3 mechs. And we'll see whether we can build something as good as Fortnite. But we're definitely going to give it a go, and it'll be hopefully the first battle royale crypto version of that. And then we've got what else we got? We've got a metaverse thing we're working on, which has been paused at the moment, just purely because we changed teams along the way. And we've got RTS being developed. That's being looked at. Like a Clash of Clans type thing. So yeah, so we've got a lot coming, and it's our team now. The lessons we've learned along the way is we were trusting one team to do everything. We're going to build an 80-person team. And the lesson we learned from that is that it's very hard to control one team, and that team got poached, we believe. So someone who's got fresh money basically came in and offered them the world. So that's unfortunate, and it certainly put us back a couple of months. But we were able to use, and we talked about every success is paved with failure. Like you got to use the stepping stones of failure to get there. That was crucial when it happened, and we were like, "Oh my God, how are we going to cope with that?" But what it forced us to do was to say, "Okay, well, that's actually a weakness. We thought we were building a strength, but it ended up being a weakness." So we've purposely now siloed teams. So we've got multiple teams. We've got external teams. We've got internal teams. So we have 3 internal teams and 2 external teams. And so that's set us up that we've got a lot of redundancy. So if something goes wrong with one of them, we've still got multiple games being finished on time and coming through. So
And coming out of that, you were able to get some talent from Gala, right? And also, you just brought somebody on who's like a gaming veteran from Blizzard. Is that right?
Yeah, Paul Sullivan. So he's ex-Gala. So he was working on their Walking Dead game. And when they let go of the whole team, I got about 15 emails in my inbox saying, please hire Paul. So, you reach out to these people and you never know whether they're going to come back to you. And we were very lucky Paul did. He came back and said, I'll have a talk to you. And we hit it off. He's a great guy and he's American, but I think he's got a bit of a larrikin sort of spirit about him. And he built several of the big bosses in World of Warcraft Blizzard. So his actual profession now is game design. And so he's actually in charge of the game design for Dogs of War. So he's building out all the economy, helping us with the economy and building out the way it's going to work. So that was a lucky break for us. Right place, right time, had the funds available to, like, those sort of guys don't come free. I'd love to work for Playable. That'd be great. I'll do it for free. I'd love that. That'd be great. But yeah. So yeah, it's like I look around the team now. Like Amanda's got a big look behind Amanda on her wall. She's got a photo of every staff member and what they do. And because we work remotely, it's really hard. You don't walk into a room and see everyone. So we've brought everyone to her room, and so we go in there and talk about people and manage in that way. But when you see it all on the wall and you go, this ain't a little baby business anymore. It's actually big. Well, what I suppose you call it a medium business. So, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So if you're like me and you like all these things, you see the potential here, you want to get involved, how do you get involved with Playable?
Well, you'll probably have a referral key on the bottom of this video. Click that. Would be a very good first start. Because if you buy a node, obviously nodes are the easiest way to have a non-committal tick of funds that you save. So a lot of people refer to nodes with ROI. I was watching an influencer this week, quite a popular influencer, carrying on about, nodes just don't have good ROI at the moment. I'm thinking, well, that's not how nodes are meant to work. The ROI comes when you sell, not today. If you're trying it, it's like I was thinking about it the other day. It's like looking at a grapevine or an apple tree out of season and saying, this apple tree, shit, it's got no apples on it. Well, duh, because it's not the apple tree season. You got to wait for the apples to grow, season to come in, give them time to ripen, and pick them when they're ripe. And that's how nodes work. That's the best analogy I can give you for a node. There's a whole bunch of the year where the apples aren't there. But when they come, if you've looked after the tree and you've done the right things, it's going to give you a great crop of fruit. So nodes are the first place you can start. You can obviously buy the coin. We're on multiple exchanges and you can buy it on our own chain. You can buy it on Ethereum. You can buy it on AVAX. You buy it from Gate.io and Bitmart and all those exchanges. And you can just come to our Discord and play some games and earn coin in game. So you don't have to buy anything. Like we're happy to have gamers as well. Just come and enjoy. And Nexus is a good, solid game. By the end of this year, we'll have Nexus to what we imagined it as. So that will be a rounded out, balanced game. That'll be by the end of this year, another couple of months. 3 to 4 months, I think it'll be starting to look really sweet. So we've spent all this time fighting the people trying to steal the money, and that's taken away some of the resources from actually finishing the game to where it meant to be. So we've now got this under control. We're now going to start work on this and get this last part in that makes it more interesting. There's going to be magic spells and all sorts of stuff that are going to be cool. So
Yeah. So if you're like me and you just want to jump in because you like what you hear and you want to buy nodes, well then yeah, you can do that and enjoy the hopefully very lucrative future passive income, which I'm really excited about. But the cool thing is you don't have to do that, like Jonathan just said. You can just hop in the Discord, you can play some of the games and earn some bull tokens just to get a taste for it, and then see if you want to jump in more. So I like when you can either go full bore like Andy, or you can just kind of like test the waters and see how they feel. But at the very least, I think everybody should check out the games and see which ones are coming and all that, and see if you like what you see, like I do. But either way, this was a lot of fun.
Thank
A
you.
lot of good stuff. Probably have to do this again to cover even more ground on all this. But thank you for taking the time to chat with everybody on the podcast, Jonathan.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to the next time.
And for everybody who's listening, thank you so much for listening in. I'll see you in the next episode.